Now, when it comes to who won this trade between the Steelers and the Miami Dolphins, the Steelers getting Jonnu Smith, Jalen Ramsey, a 7th-round pick for 2027, and the Dolphins getting Minkah Fitzpatrick, a 3-time All-Pro, and the 5th-rounder for the 2027 NFL draft out of this. I have to say that the Steelers won this trade. And not just that the Steelers win this trade, but the Steelers should really be thrown in jail for robbing the Miami Dolphins. Because Minkah Fitzpatrick is no longer the elite player that he used to be. He's a good player, but not elite and not warranted of having a cap hit of $15.5 million on the books. And the Dolphins are in really bad shape right now because the Steelers just took 2 of their best players and they got them for a Polar Pop and a 50-cent bag of chips, because now the Miami Dolphins are an even worse team now than what they were before they shipped off Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith. Jonnu Smith was a matchup nightmare when teams wanted to play 2 high safeties to take away the big play threat of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle due to their speed, and that allowed for Miami to give Tua a target that could do a lot of dirty work in the middle of defenses and underneath, and a really good red zone option. Now you get rid of that, and the Dolphins are in the market for another tight end. And then you also lose the best defensive back that you have on your team. The Dolphins, now that they've gotten rid of Jalen Ramsey, have the worst secondary in the NFL. Getting Minkah Fitzpatrick in exchange for Jalen Ramsey definitely makes it look a little bit better, but he's really the only guy that you can look at on paper and say, yeah, Minkah Fitzpatrick's a dog. Who else do the Miami Dolphins have? They have some rookies that they're going to be leaning on. They got some guys that you probably never heard of before. The Dolphins are not in good shape right now. And this trade is a clear indicator that the Dolphins are teetering towards a rebuild. They're acquiring a bunch of picks. They're getting rid of some of their best players. You gave the Steelers your 2 best players last season, essentially. Tyreek Hill had a down year. Jalen Waddle was banged up for the most of the season. And you just made the Steelers an even better team than what they already were before. Yes, they are going to hurt a little bit losing Minkah Fitzpatrick, but losing Minkah isn't going to hurt the Steelers as much as what losing Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith is going to hurt the Miami Dolphins. Because now you don't have a guy that's going to be able to take some of that pressure off of Waddle and Tyreek Hill. Now you're going to have to continue to force feed them. What made the Miami Dolphins offense a little bit more dynamic is that you weren't able to just guess on defense that it was going to 1 or 2 guys. Now with Jonnu Smith in the fold, it allowed you to kind of shake things up a little bit. It made your offense a little bit more unpredictable, and it made you especially better in the red zone, not just because Jonnu Smith is a good red zone target, but he also is a really good run blocker as well. So your run game took a hit, your passing attack took a hit, and now you go back to being this one-dimensional team where you're only throwing it to 1 or 2 guys. And if Jalen Waddle or Tyreek Hill, Lord forbid, have to miss time with injuries and you can't find a suitable replacement for him, you're going to be in some major trouble. And the Dolphins' offensive line is still very bad. Yes, they did try to address it in the draft, but, I mean, you still have major concerns in that old line, and that's been the biggest bugaboo for Miami these last couple of years under Mike McDaniel. Jonnu Smith was the only player that really made your offense physical, that gave you somewhat of a physical identity with his style of play. And now that you lose him, you're not going to be able to find a serviceable replacement. Maybe you can trade for Kyle Pitts. That's a move that I could see the Miami Dolphins making. I could see the Miami Dolphins going after Kyle Pitts because they won't really expect him to block. But if there's anybody that could find a way to maximize the talent and abilities of Kyle Pitts properly, it definitely is Mike McDaniel. But even getting Kyle Pitts is a downgrade from Jonnu Smith, because there's a reason why Arthur Smith at Atlanta, when he was the head coach there, was favoring him more over Kyle Pitts in the first place. And with no Jalen Ramsey, you have no cornerbacks at all. That it's pretty much going to be an all-you-can-eat buffet if you're opposing quarterback that plays this Dolphins defense. At least with Jalen Ramsey, although he isn't what he used to be, he still is a guy that you're not going to test. You can say Jalen Ramsey is washed, but are other quarterbacks willing to try to test that out? Not really. Anybody else on the other side of Jalen Ramsey was easy pickings. Now everybody in this DB room is easy pickings. Even Minkah Fitzpatrick, he'll help you out in the run game, but he's not going to help you in the passing game. The Dolphins got robbed straight up by the Pittsburgh Steelers. If you really dive into the nuances of this trade, the Steelers increased their chances of making it far in the playoffs, while the Dolphins decreased their chances of even having a winning season. And this isn't the situation that you want to be in if you're Mike McDaniel, where your job security is in question.